What's good, YouTube? Jay Lee here. Got another Northwest podcast for you today. We are going to be discussing 3 reasons why women date and marry yes men. Yes men. What's a yes man? A yes man is a guy who's kind of a pushover. He's always agreeing with her. He's always on her side. He always comes to her defense. He's really just kind of like a hanger on. He's not a leader. He's not a leader in the relationship. He's more like a partner. And that sounds good in a way, right? It's like, oh yeah, I got my partner. That sounds good. But I'm going to get into why it's really not like that. I'm going to get into why it's really not good. So let's jump right in. What are the 3 reasons why women date and marry yes men? First of all, she likes to take the lead, right? She likes to take the lead. Secondly, she's ambitious, right? Kind of the same thing. She likes to take the lead. She's ambitious, but I'll get into the differences in a second on that. And the third one is she's a feminist, right? So she likes to take the lead, she's ambitious, and she's a feminist. These all kind of go hand in hand. But it's more recently that this is kind of the thing. And I believe this is kind of a new thing. I don't think women were really like this in the past. I think there's always been ambitious women, but women nowadays are ambitious in a different way. It's more like they're ambitious to, it used to be rare that women were ambitious to be more like, the consummate leader type where women were out there trying to achieve things that men were achieving. It wasn't really like that in the past. If women were ambitious, it was really just to make money or it was to start a company. It wasn't like this challenge thing. Nowadays, what we have is like a challenge where women are out here trying to prove men wrong and like, I can do it. And it's like there's this edge about them. They have this kind of chip on their shoulder like, well, I'm a woman. And the irony of it is that they really, a lot of their power comes from the fact that they're women and they're kind of this protected class, which is ironic because on the one hand, they're out here like, oh, I'm a woman. I can do anything a man can do and I'm out here to prove it. But the irony is they almost always fall back on this. I'm a victim. When hard times come or when, what we see a lot with like Lana Rhoades and Brie Olson and Mia Khalifa, we see a lot of like blame shifting, right? So they'll be out here talking about, I'm a strong, independent woman and, I'm just exercising my options. I'm free to do whatever I want. And me, having sex on camera, for instance, or having an OnlyFans, for instance, is empowering. And that's what you'll hear feminists tell these young women is that, oh, you can do what you want, girl, go get yours and blah, blah, blah. So they're literally telling them they can be whores and it's kind of an empowerment to be a whore. Well, 5-10 years down the road, these girls are turning around saying, oh, it was society that influenced me. Oh, it was men. I wanted to be accepted by men, like Mia Khalifa said, and they have all this regret and they want to play a victim, right? Like Lana Rhoades and Brie Olson, out here talking about, I want to be treated like a, normal girl. And it's like you forfeited that because you went out and you did 400 videos or however many these girls did. And now everybody knows who you are and you forfeited that right of propriety. You're not proper anymore. You're not moral anymore and everyone knows it, right? And they're all sad and then they want to blame shift and blame society and blame men. And it's like, you're not going to be able to change morals and social norms to fit your degeneracy, right? So on the one hand, they want to be empowered. On the other hand, we live in a gynocentric society that coddles them, which is the irony of this whole scenario, right? Which is why it's ironic that these women, feminists, ambitious, she wants to be the leader, she wants to be successful, she wants to be out here, reinventing the wheel, even though men have already done it all. There's already whole libraries full of dictionaries of books that men have written. Women didn't survey the land and lay out roads and build buildings to perfection and build cities and build, courts of law and legislation, write legislation. No, women didn't do any of that. Men did that. And what are women trying to do now that we've given them their freedom? They're going out and they're, killing our babies, 500,000 per year in the U.S. alone through Planned Parenthood, right? They're out there starting OnlyFans, although OnlyFans is changing up, and they're no longer gonna be supporting adult content, which is pretty funny. But they're out here on Pornhub trying to sell themselves on discount, $5.99 prescription per month, and all this crap. And it's like, that's what you did. That's what you have. That's your only real unique ability that men don't have, is the fact that sex sells for you. It doesn't work for men, but it works for you. Okay, and women have found empowerment, quote unquote, through that, right? But at the end of the day, it's like it's a catch-22, because on the one hand, yeah, you have power over men in that regard, but also you really kind of forfeit your own power, because you're objectifying yourself. And not only that, you're lowering your value for quality men, which is also a reason why women choose yes men, right? So let's jump into why from these three reasons, why women choose yes men. And again, like I just said, a lot of the reason why women choose yes men is because the yes men will take their crap. The yes men will worship the ground she walks on and make her feel like a queen. And you got to be low-key kind of a narcissist to want a man like that. And you also got to be somewhat not feminine, right? Because real feminine women, real women who are feminine and okay with being feminine, they want strong masculine men. Strong masculine men don't compromise their leadership, right? We were told this crap when we were growing up about partners and partnership. Love is a partnership and all this kind of stuff. The truth is that most women really want a man to take the lead. This doesn't mean the man is like the, everything's got to be run by him and he's just the consummate authoritarian. This doesn't mean that a relationship is a male authoritarian scenario. Not at all. What it means is that women want men who have masculine traits. Women want, and what is a masculine trait? A masculine trait is leadership. Women are attracted to, and they're submissive naturally to, a man who is masculine and a leader. This is why women love alpha males. The problem is that in today's femininity, with today's feminism, many of these women are out here being brainwashed by feminism that they can do everything a man can do. They're just as strong and capable as a man, right? And what that does is that really kind of removes her femininity. It really removes that essence that makes her a female, right? And then what happens is she's in competition with men. Women are in competition with men. And then they start to take on male characteristics. A lot of the result of that is they only are able to attract kind of beta type men. So this is another reason why women are getting in relationships with yes men, is because they themselves are masculine and they attract more feminine type of guys, right? You can tell the aura and a dynamic of a relationship by just kind of paying attention to their body language, right? A lot of women out here, particularly in the state that I live in, which is a very liberal state, Washington, and then, New York and California, other liberal areas, there's a lot of this happy wife, happy life kind of mentality, and I call it a syndrome, because really what you're doing is you're giving all your power to your wife, and you can tell by the body language. Again, you read the aura, read the body language of these relationships, and you can tell the woman is taking the lead. And really, it's a sad and kind of shameful thing, because she's really just kind of a tyrant. She's really kind of a grown child, and I've talked about this a lot on my channel. What she says goes. He's just this kind of yes man who really wants to make her happy, and you can see it. A good example is in the animated movie Alice in Wonderland. At the very end, when Alice is she shows up at the queen's castle or whatever, and the queen is just this loud mouth, angry tyrant, and the king is there, and he's just like this little he's just a little yes man. He's a little like pipsqueak who he's like 2 2 foot tall and she's domineering and powering over him. That's an extreme example, but it's kind of true for a lot of relationships out there where the guy is he's basically just a walking ATM. He's a yes man. He supplies he provides things, but really she's running the show, which is really just, I don't know what you want to call that, extortion, kidnapping, what do you want to call that? It's like she runs the show, but he pays all the bills. It's just a grotesque thing, and a lot of times in these type of relationships, um, the how the mother treats the father is how the daughter is going to choose her man. She wants a man who she can treat the same way that her mother treated her father. And it's just this really kind of ugly, disgusting scenario. So where does this stem from and how does it start? It starts with feminism. It really does. It starts with feminism, which teaches women that they can be ambitious and they can take the lead. And it's not, I don't disagree with a woman's ambition objectively per se. The problem is that there's a lot that comes along with that. There's a lot that is attached, particularly when, from the feminist camp and from the feminist propaganda. And a lot of it is subversive, right? It's really teaching women to be supremacists, right? I need to be better than men. I need to be more ambitious than men. And when you look at what it produces, it really just produces something that's kind of ugly and out of place. If you have there's an example of like a family where there's like a black sheep in every family, right? If you have an example of like a family and there's like a guy who's just like, he dresses crazy, he's obnoxious, he's loud, he's antisocial, like he just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit, right? And this is kind of not exactly the same metaphor, but in the same sense that that guy doesn't fit in that family, a woman leading a man in a relationship doesn't fit. It stands out. It's like there's something that's grotesque about it. There's something that's off about it. It's like, why is she leading? And this comes from this equality mentality, right? And the irony is that a lot of times you'll have this equality mentality that says, well, women are the same as men, but really there's a lot of, like I said, subversive information hidden below that, where really she wants to be the leader. Really she wants to be better than men, and it's kind of hidden there, right? So on the surface, she'll have this, we're all equal kind of talk, but really how they really act and below the surface, they're subtly really trying to lord it over men any way they can, and this a lot of times is exemplified in these type of relationships where the woman's taking the lead. And I feel that it's just uncomely. It's natural for a man to be a leader. It's natural for a man to be strong, but because of this modern Marxism and feminism, which really tries to destroy the family unit, what you have is this kind of ugly, out of place, something, scenario that just doesn't fit. It's like, why is she doing all the talking? Why is she doing all the decisions? Why is she the one who's louder than him? Why is she? And it's like, it's weird, and it's always bothered me. It's always been cringy to me. It's like, anyway, so she likes to take the lead, right? She might view it as a partnership, even though she's running the show. And it's very duplicitous. It's very subtle, right? And the guy usually has the yes, dear syndrome. Yes, dear, if you go watch that Alice in Wonderland with the king, you can probably find a clip on YouTube or whatever, and you can see what it's like and how he's like happy to be this little cuck, and he's happy to like, oh, I'm supporting her. And it's like, you'll see that in these relationships where, where these guys are like, oh, I'm just supporting her, and I'm supporting her. And like, and a lot of times these women will cheat. It's true. And a lot of times these women will leave guys like that, because I believe there's a battle going on within these type of women. Like, on the one hand, they want to be ambitious and they want to, go out and do everything a man could do. On the other hand, they have this feminine side which says, I want to be submissive to a strong, masculine alpha man, and they can never reconcile those two things because they're very opposed to each other. And it's something that's very personal, because that's your nature. So you're going against your nature, right? And even
it makes them very unhappy because, feminism has demonized a woman being submissive to a man as if it's some kind of malady or it's some kind of oppressive thing, when really it's their very nature, right? And this is the modern pitfall. This is a modern pitfall. So a lot of what comes along with this is ambition, where the woman is trying to be ambitious, she's trying to be successful, all this kind of stuff. And a lot of times she'll just use him as kind of a cuck springboard to where he supports her, and she chooses him specifically because he has a very passive, he's very passive. He doesn't set boundaries, and he's very passive. So basically a woman will kind of tailor a man that way, or choose a man in a tailor type of way to say, oh, I'm going to apply his passivity and I'm going to use that as a springboard to sort of, channel my ambition to, so I'm going to use his support, and then through that type of supportship, it's not really a relationship, it's more like a supportship where he's just supporting her and she's going out and being ambitious and doing all these things, where in reality she's not really supporting him at all. Like he's lucky to have me kind of attitude, and I'm the queen, and he just has this kind of like, well, whatever she's doing kind of attitude, like, well, whatever she wants to do, I just want to make her happy because I love her so much and I'm so lucky to have her. And this is what happens when guys get in scarcity mode. When they're in scarcity mode, they have this attitude where they're, they think that, oh, I should be, doing jumping jacks because I got this attractive woman because I couldn't get anybody else. And what they don't realize is they're just being used. What they don't realize is she's just using his passivity. She's using his beta, his beta-ness to really sort of support her ambition, to support her being the leader of the relationship. And it's really, you wonder about that. It's such a messed up scenario. You wonder, like, does he even like, and the irony is, like, they'll try to act like that's normal. They'll try to act like, well, that's the way it's supposed to be because we're all equal. And it's just like, no, man, no, you don't even know what masculinity is. And this is what feminism has done, is it's really warped interpersonal relationships to that extent, to where they don't even realize that they're being just, it's uncomely for the woman to be the leader of the relationship. And you wonder if, he even understands because they have this sort of like, well, it's all equal. And it's like, there's just something that's not right about it. There's something that's right, and you have a feeling whether it's right. I don't know if you guys ever go out and people watch, or you ever go out and mix with people. You have a feeling if something is right. If it's right, there's a harmony, right? There's just a harmony. Each one is like, hey, you know what? I'm here to support the other one, or what, whatever. When it's this type of relationship, it's the woman is the prize. He's, chasing after her. He's doing everything he can to keep her. He's a yes man. She feels that she's the queen, and you can just tell that the vibe is off. Yeah, sure, they're married or whatever. They've been in a relationship for a long time, and they quote unquote love each other, and you can tell that they maybe are loving each other, sort of. But there's something that's just off. There's something that is just, in the body language, in the way that, and you can tell, and if you sit with these people after a while, you start to see what it really is. It starts to come out. It's like, oh, it's because she's the prize and she's leading and she has this domineering, ambitious personality, and she's like out here thinking, well, this is what I'm supposed to do because feminism told me. And it's like, they've replaced any kind of culture, any kind of normal culture with feminism, because feminism essentially did that. It was essentially successful at eroding femininity. The irony is feminism is not feminism is not feminine at all. But that's the irony. Feminism is actually subversive. It warps real humanity. It warps real femininity, and it replaces it with this ambitious kind of antagonistic monster that really deep down is in competition with men, and really deep down hates men, doesn't like men. And really she just picked this guy because of his passivity, because of his the fact that he puts her on a pedestal and he's in scarcity mode. And it's like, do we really want these type of relationships, you know? So I think I pretty much explained it at that point. That's pretty much it. I know there's a couple other things that I can't think of right now, but that's pretty much the gist of it. It's a really uncomely scenario, and there's a lot of relationships out there like that, and there's a lot more that are coming. And it's really one of those things where it's just like, I don't even like looking at it. I don't like being around it. I don't like seeing it. I don't like hearing it. I don't like these type of women. I don't like those type of guys. And there's a lot more of them coming out every day. And it's like, I don't even know if they know what masculinity is. I don't even know if they know what leadership is. I don't even know if they know, you know, how to, all they really know is how to be passive. All they really know, these guys, you know, how to do is put her on a pedestal and whatever she says go. And it's like, there's just a sliminess about them. There's a phoniness about them, right? Where it's like, I think that they have willfully castrated themselves. They've willfully castrated their masculinity to appease the gynocentric order and to, you know, get a woman. If that's what you have to do to get a woman, you'd be better off single. I mean, you would be better off single, because every day you got to live this non-masculine life where you're being passive. And it's like, sometimes I'm confused. I'm like, are they really like that all the time? Or are they just putting on a front for her? And I think they're just putting on a front for her. I think it's because these guys are beta and they're not being chosen, right? So they have to put on this front where like, hey, I'm acceptable. I'm one of you. I'm an ally. Joe Rogan talked about that, where he said these male feminists are the biggest, they're the biggest phonies, because he's like, hey, I know what you're doing. You're pretending to be an ally. You're pretending to be a friend so that you can make it look like you're one of them and you're not one of those, misogynist guys. You're not one of those patriarchy guys. You're new age. You're a modern man. You're progressive. You're a feminist, right? And it's just like, how do you, and the worst of it is when these guys also still think that they're alphas, right? Like, how do you reconcile that? How on the one hand do you think you're an alpha? On the other hand, your wife is leading the relationship. How does that work out? You're not an alpha. And it's like, in their mind, they twist it around and think like, yeah, if I make her happy, then that means I'm a leader, because I'm actually being chivalrous and I'm actually sacrificing myself for her. And it's like, no, dude, you're just being used, and you've tricked yourself into thinking what you're doing is right, and you're probably not acting normal. It's probably not natural for you to act like that, unless you're just such, you got so low testosterone and you're so much of a soy boy that's actually your personality. It's like, that's not masculine. That's some new age kind of mamby-pamby, single mom raised, feminist, gynocentric, society raised guy who is just doesn't know how to be masculine, doesn't know what it is to be a man. On the flip side, there are men out there who are just, you don't want to be so authoritarian. You don't want to be a real misogynist. You don't want to be, such a jerk that, you are oppressing women. You don't want to be like that. But the lie is that it used to be like all men were like that. That's a lie. No, all men were providers. All men were expected to provide for a family, and that would naturally make us leaders, because without us, what do you have, right? But somewhere along the line, women were like, oh, I'll just divorce you. And so I'll put that fear into you, and I'll just divorce you. And then you have to make me happy, or I'll just leave you, because there's no fault divorce now. And I can just outski. I can just jet out of this relationship. And so they hold that fear over the man. And then all of a sudden he becomes a yes man. All of a sudden his masculinity is gone. All of a sudden his leadership is gone. And she's subtly, as far as aura and energy wise and the mentality that goes in, she's leading and she thinks she's leading. And this is where you get these tyrant type of women who just, are totally running the show in the relationship, and it's very uncomely. But anyway, like I said, I've said enough there. I'm gonna end it here. Appreciate you guys listening. Jay Lee, Northwest Podcast. Peace.